For Arsenal, they're dealing, as I mentioned, really in the Champions League now. That's the one realistic competition for them, if it can be realistic when you've never won it. And you're playing Real Madrid, but it's not the Real Madrid as we've known it in previous years. So where are the plus points? Saka back, huge. Frank mentioned Martinelli. Wide players, fantastic. Where are Real Madrid's weak points? Both fullbacks. So, you know, getting Saka back, whether it be Camavinga or Fran Garcia, whoever it is, you know, that could be a bit of a mismatch. So that's the kind of plus side, and of course it is. And Mikel Merino getting his quota of goals, as we know he can, from the middle of the park. The downside is the injuries to to the bulk of his defenders. Gabriel, Timber, White, Calafiori are all either probably out or struggling. And then you take it to the Real Madrid, where they're strong. And so you can see where Arsenal could hurt this Real Madrid side. You could see where they could dominate them in the middle of the park, because Arsenal are very strong there. You could see how they would get at this Real Madrid defence, particularly the fullbacks. But boy, how are they going to stop in counter-attack a Vinicius, or Rodrigo and Mbappe, particularly when they've got key defenders out? I mean, it makes for a great sort of...
yeah, for the neutral, it's perfect.
Yeah, it's
neither can defend.
A great couple of matchups. Yeah, both are weak in well. Arsenal can defend, but they're weakened defensively. Real Madrid really can't defend. But I think for them, if the front guys are in form and Bukayo Saka is back, which he is, and he has no effects to the injury, then you know it's going to make for an intriguing quarter-final.
Shaq, what would you like to add about this game?
I have concerns about Arsenal, well, defensively, as Frank pointed out. Gabriel going on, and I was really surprised to see Timber continue. He went on very heavily, and you wondered. Again, so far behind Liverpool, you've got Real Madrid in 7 days' time. I was a little bit surprised to see Julian Timber continue as he did. And even with him carrying that injury, and Frank spoke about Tuchari and his pace, totally exposed Arsenal defensively. And offered a whole lot more. Traore, it was Raul Jimenez who he made, I mean, was the most simple of balls to play, but somehow couldn't. You cannot allow Vinicius Jr. that kind of space, that kind of time, because you'll get hurt. That's the only concern from an Arsenal perspective at the back. Through the middle, Mikel Merino again continues to lead the line, as convincing as he can be. That's not his natural position. And you just wonder, see what kind of form Saka's in. I thought he was solid for these 25 minutes, didn't do anything.
He scored, Shank.
I could have scored that. Yeah, all I'm saying is...
Has he been out 3 months, 4 months?
But to that point...
25 minutes,
to that point, you need Bukayo Saka to be back to his early season form if you're going to beat Real Madrid over 2 legs. And because he's been out that long, you just can't see that happening right now.
The cycle, I don't think people realise that when you're coming back from, I mean, you're coming back from broken legs and ACLs, those things are, of course, mentally tough. And we see the head injuries that, you know, Raul Jimenez had a few years ago and that Mateta had at Crystal Palace recently. These things are all tough mentally to come back from. And whilst a hamstring is not generally an injury that would end your career, as a general rule of thumb, coming back from one that's not just been a 2 or 3 week strain and it has been a 3 or 4 month injury, which means it was a big tear. The psychological impact of trying to get up to full speed again is very tough. I mean, you can train all you want, you can do all, but it's until you're really hitting those sprints for 20 minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes, where you're really hitting them in the big moments, that you never find out what stage your hamstring's at. They don't care how many MRIs you have and scans. Until you're doing that, mentally, you just don't know. So it's going to take that lad quite a bit of time to get fully up to speed.
That's what I was thinking. You're off for 3 months.
Well, you were critical.
I'm not critical. I'm saying Arsenal needs Saka to be back to his early season.
Well, he's not going to be back in 7 days.
Exactly, and that's my point. Against Real Madrid.
But you'll take a 70% up to speed Bukayo Saka against others in that squad.
Yeah.
Because he can still do stuff to change a game.
Frank, I'm picking Arsenal to beat Real Madrid. You want to join me?
I would love to, but again, I saw the game today. They were bad and they won Real Madrid. So it's hard to say that Arsenal is going to go through. Everybody thinks, and Luis was saying that, everybody thinks that he has a chance against Real Madrid, but everybody goes back home, with tears because they say, oh, we missed chances and we should have won. Yeah, but Real Madrid won again and again and again. So yes, Arsenal can do that. Yes, Arsenal has all the tools to go through. But yeah, it's hard to say. Yeah, they're gonna go because they play against Real Madrid, and Real Madrid is hard to cope with.
Frustration of not being fit, watching the team going into games where he wants to help them but he can't help them, and then in the end, you see him going over thanking people because those are the people that on a daily basis when you watch injured, those are the people that are almost like how can you say, like counsellors for them?
Yeah.
It's speaking to them, mentoring them, keeping them going, keeping the spirits up, especially when the team's not going well and everybody's saying to him probably when he's walking on the street, when are you coming back? When are you coming back? It's pressure. It's continuous pressure. So the way they've dealt with it, I'm really pleased because I was always worried about an injury like this coming for him. He's been playing so regularly since the age of 17. So we knew that at some stage this may happen. So you know what I mean? It's over. You hope now that he's on the road to just continue to do what he's doing, like the star that he is.
Yeah, and at the tender age of 23.
23, yeah.
He handles it so well, that pressure, the expectation on him. The only thing is from now until the end of the season, there are some big games, of course. We've got Everton on this week. So how do you expect them to manage his minutes from here on?
Just again, gradually building up. I think more importantly, the next day or so as his recovery. All the things that have, as Wright mentioned, your rehab to get back onto the pitch, it doesn't stop. It has to keep continuing because you're still rehabbing. But manage again his training load, manage his minutes maybe against Everton. But you'll want him to be available for at least 45 minutes if you could against Real Madrid. That is the big one. It was a great result tonight, but you have to look at that Real Madrid game and maybe see how he is, and you keep building him because you need him to be good in that Champions League because he's so important.
That's a major game. It's the game of the season for Arsenal. Obviously, if we were closer to Liverpool, the game in May would have probably been the game of the season. But we're talking about Real Madrid, the winningest team in that competition, and I don't want to jump ahead of Everton because it's going to be quite a big game as well, simply because they have to win that as well, depending on whatever Everton do against Liverpool. But I think that he probably gets some more minutes in Everton, probably similar to what he's done tonight. So as then, like Karen says, he can get a good amount of time against a Real Madrid because, let's face it, we're missing Gabriel now. We've probably missed that. We need all the best players we can get out there for that particular game because we know what the Champions League means to Real Madrid and how much they want to win that and how much good fortune they get in that tournament.
They just seem to know how to win it, don't they?
So, we're going to need everything we can get.
But also, as players, aren't they the sort of games you dream of playing in? Because how often do you get to play the likes of Real Madrid in a Champions League game? I mean, it's massive, isn't it?
It is massive. It's huge. It's not like... It's nights like that. That's why you play football. And, the thing from watching Arsenal tonight, when they were, at times, they do struggle to break teams down. And we've looked at his stats. He is the X factor. He is the star boy. He is the difference. You need that. And if you could have him for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, if you can do what Arsenal do is defend well at times, defensively good. I know it's obviously a big miss if they lose Gabriel, but if you can stay in the game and give him 20, 30, 40 minutes, he could give you something that could get you through. He's the difference, is the X factor. So it'd be great to see him go and do that against a Real Madrid team.
Probably as well, Kaz, you probably need to go to Real Madrid with something. You can't look at a Real Madrid side with the players that they've got, the capabilities, and feel like they're not going to at least get a goal here. So you have to be going to the Bernabeu with something. But ideally, I'd like to see him playing against Everton, putting on the same kind of performance, showing the same kind of abilities, and then we could start maybe talking about Real Madrid, and hopefully he can make a massive difference in that game for us.
And what about Gabriel missing?
It's a massive miss.
Disappointment. Miss.
It's massive. It's just as big in respect of what Saka does for us going forward. Then Gabriel going the other way, set pieces, leadership, warrior that we need. You know, I think that whatever you say, the drop-off from Gabriel, I don't know how fit Calafiore is at the moment, but when you're looking at someone going that quick and you pull up like that, that's not 2 weeks. That's a month, that's 6 weeks. And, you know, you can see it there because he knows himself. You can see him saying it there because what he means to us. You can see it there
Even
with the win
manager
ratio.
there, when
Yeah,
he
you can
said
see it.
He doesn't pull up. You know,
No.
Arteta was pretty honest. He doesn't pull up. He doesn't go down injured. And that's something to, if your own players don't do that, and he has today, that is a big
know it's a
concern.
problem.
Yeah, the win ratio there in that graphic just tells you everything. Right?
The thing is, Seema, is that I know we're jumping ahead and speaking about Real Madrid because it is a massive game. It is the big game for the season for us. But, you know, without Gabri Magalhaes in that game and, you know, you're looking at Kiwior, even today, there's a couple of positional moves that you just cannot afford to do when you play against Real Madrid because they're looking for any chink in the armour to exploit. And so you need people who are absolutely bang on it, you know, to be able to say you can keep Real Madrid to no goals at home would be something that if Gabri Magalhaes is there, I'd probably feel more confident about that.
Bukayo Saka enjoyed a dream return to action by scoring what proved to the winner minutes after coming off the bench against Fulham. Mikel Merino had given us a first-half lead before Bukayo entered the fray midway through the second, and within 8 minutes he was celebrating when he nodded home a neat Gabriel Martinelli flick to seal the points with his 10th goal of the campaign. Rodrigo Muniz pulled one back 3 minutes into stoppage time to set up a grandstand finish, but we managed to see out the final stages to secure back-to-back wins over West London neighbours either side of the international break. In 32 previous meetings in N5 in all competitions, we had never lost to Fulham, the most we've faced a side without ever tasting defeat on home soil, and that record never looked to be in too much danger. Much like the previous encounter at Craven Cottage in December, we dominated the possession and territory stats with Fulham's back five set out to stifle us. But our backline required a reshuffle just 15 minutes in when Gabriel pulled up with what looked to be a hamstring injury, with Jacob Kiwior taking his place. Despite suffering that blow 1 week away from our Champions League date with Real Madrid, we didn't let it unnerve us, and Ethan Nwaneri came close to opening the scoring when he struck a Gabriel Martinelli cross on the volley and forced Bernd Leno to beat the blast away. Amidst a quiet, fragmented half of football punctuated by stoppages, we kept our patience, and it paid off on 37 minutes when we grabbed a lead to take into the break with us. Nwaneri escaped past Anthony Robinson on the left flank and cut the ball back to Merino inside the box. After taking a couple of touches to get it under control, the Spaniard saw his shot deflect off Jorge Cuenca creep into the bottom corner of Leno's goal and net his 6th goal in his last 10 games for club and country. A 1-goal lead was much appreciated against a side who had arrived in North London with ambitions of achieving a first-ever top 6 finish this term, and who had won 3 of their last 4 on their travels, and 7 minutes after the restart the Cottagers showed some threat when Raul Jimenez nearly netted for a 3rd straight game against us, but David Raya was equal to his effort. The ball went straight down the other end, and a vicious strike by Jurriën Timber after he worked a 1-2 with Martin Odegaard left Leno winded as it smashed into his midriff, and then our set pieces began to cause Fulham problems with Martinelli and Merino both seeing efforts flicked away from goal by defenders. On 66 minutes Emirates Stadium was on its feet as Saka made his return after 101 days out injured and received a roar as loud as the one that greeted Merino's goal, but that was beaten 8 minutes later when he picked up where he left off before Christmas. Martinelli initiated an attack after speeding down the left and found Merino. His cross was then flicked on acrobatically by the Brazilian towards the back post, where Saka simply had to stoop to nod the ball past Leno and write his fairy tale return.